5. My Amish wife cheated with my brother. The bishop already knew. The smell hits me before I'm ready for it. Sharp, green, a little like damp hay that's been crushed under a boot. I'm standing over the stove, iron pot breathing steam, and my hands are shaking so bad the ladle taps the rim. Tin on iron. Click, click. The room's too warm for March. Kerosene lamp hissing like it's mad at us, and my shirt sticks to my back. The tea's gone the color it always does when the plantain's right. Cloudy, almost gray. Dat used to say that's when it's strongest. That's what the old ones knew. Rebecca's on the bench by the wall, not looking at me. Her ankles wrapped in linen, already stained dark where the swelling pushed through. She won't drink. She keeps rubbing the wood grain with her thumb, same spot, over and over. Outside, one horse stamps, impatient. The other doesn't move at all. That should have told me something. I was 31 that spring. No, 32. Dad always said, get that right. I add 7 drops of the tincture. 7. I count twice because my head's not right. The air's thick. Too thick. And there's a sound. Soft, wrong. Coming from the next room. A floorboard easing back. Or maybe memory doing that thing it does. I remember thinking the remedy would fix what was broken. That's what it always did. That's what we believed. Then the bishop clears his throat behind me. Real quiet. Like he's been there a while. And that's when I know this sickness isn't in her ankle at all. It's older. It's already spread. And everybody but me has known since the winter before. Quick pause. My name is Joseph. And this is Plain Remedies. If these stories stay with you, if they remind you of something the old ones knew, subscribe. It's free, and it's the reason I can keep telling them. Tell me in the comments, what remedy did your family trust when things went wrong? And if you want to go further, a super chat or a membership, that's you telling me these old ways are worth remembering. That keeps this going. Now, back to what happened. We didn't call English doctors first. That wasn't written anywhere, but it might as well have been carved into the pump handle out back. You watched your dad handle sickness the same way he handled a lame horse or a split rail. Steady, quiet, with what was already on hand. The brochure came before the hospital, always. Powwow words under breath, hands warm from work. Remedies pulled from jars that had no labels because nobody needed them. I didn't learn that by being told. I learned it by watching Mam strain teas through flour sack cloth. By seeing Dat crush plantain with the heel of his palm on the stone step. That's what the old ones knew. And here's the part English folks miss. It wasn't stubbornness. It was trust. Trust in what had kept people alive, long before paved roads reached us. I remember the smell of the root cellar in August, sweet and sour at once, and how Grossdaddy would say, the earth already gave us what we needed if we paid attention. That rule lived in small ways. A cough meant mullein before rest. A cut meant comfrey before stitches. Nobody said it out loud, but you felt the weight of it in what wasn't suggested. When my knee swelled bad after threshing, I thought about asking Mam if we should get it looked at. The thought barely formed. She was already heating vinegar and wrapping it tight, her hands sure. And I let it be. That's how it worked. You didn't question because questioning meant you didn't trust the line you came from, and I wanted to belong to that line. I didn't know that same silence could hide other kinds of sickness too. Rebecca and I married young by English standards. I was 23, she was 20, or maybe 21. No, 20. I remember because Mam stitched her dress tighter at the waist and said she was still growing into herself. My brother Eli stood beside me that day, straight-backed, serious, the way he always was. He'd always been the steady one, the one Dat leaned on when the wagon tongue snapped or a calf came breech. I trusted him the way you trust gravity. Rebecca trusted him too, though I didn't see that then. I saw only how she brought him extra coffee on cold mornings, how he'd fix things without being asked. It all felt right, normal. We were warned about remedies more than about hearts. Dat pressed a small brown bottle into my hand the night before the wedding. For pain, he said. Use sparing. I thought he meant childbirth someday. The days before Rebecca's ankle went bad were quiet. Too quiet. She twisted it in the back field, stepping wrong near the fence Dat had braced after the storm of '94. It swelled fast, hot to the touch. She tried to walk it off. I gathered plantain leaves at dawn, dew soaking my cuffs, crushed them until my hands smelled green all day. Eli watched from the barn door, rubbing that callus on his right thumb, over and over. I didn't ask why he wasn't working. I didn't ask why Rebecca wouldn't meet my eye. We don't ask when we think we already know the answer. The kitchen that night felt smaller than it ever had. The iron pot sat heavy on the stove, steam fogging the window so you couldn't see the moon. The kerosene lamp hissed, same pitch it always did when the wick was trimmed just right. Horses shifted outside, leather creaking. I focused on the work, on the remedy, on the way Gross Daddy taught me to stir clockwise, never rushing. Rebecca's breathing was shallow, short. She kept her hands clenched in her apron. Eli stood near the door. The bishop, Bishop Aaron, sat at the table, hat on his knee, eyes on the floor. That should have been strange. It wasn't. My jaw locked so tight I couldn't swallow the coffee Ma'am pressed into my hand. When I knelt to unwrap the ankle, the heat surprised me. Fever heat. The skin shone angry red, veins dark beneath. Rebecca flinched when the cloth came free. "Easy," I said, though my voice didn't sound like mine. Eli took a step forward, then stopped. "It'll help," he said. "Too quick." I looked at him. He looked away. The room smelled of crushed leaves and iron and something sour I couldn't place. I remember. No, wait. It wasn't the floorboard then. It was the chair legs scraping when the bishop shifted. I laid the poultice on thick, cool against her skin. She gasped, then breathed. I counted my own breaths to keep from shaking. 7 drops in the tea. 7. I handed her the cup. She didn't take it. Her eyes filled, not with pain, with something else. "Joseph," she said. "Just my name. Nothing after." That's when Bishop Aaron cleared his throat, soft, like he'd been there a while. "Before this goes further," he said, "there's something you should know." And my body knew before my mind did. My stomach dropped. My hands went numb. The remedy sat there, doing what it always did, while the sickness we'd been pretending wasn't there finally spoke. They told me plain, not cruel, plain. Rebecca had gone to Eli in the winter, once at first, then more. She'd hurt her ankle running back through the snow, slipping on the path by the barn. The swelling wasn't just from a twist. It was from walking on it, day after day, to hide where she'd been. The bishop knew because she'd confessed. Months ago, the ordinance required he hold it until it could be addressed properly. Properly. I stared at the poultice steaming, doing its quiet work. That's when I understood the harm ignorance can do. Not the remedy. The silence around everything else. Nobody knew how to treat that. Not really. I don't want to paint anyone as a monster. Rebecca wasn't. Eli wasn't. Bishop Aaron wasn't. The logic made sense inside our world. Confession brings order. Order brings peace. But nobody understood that waiting lets rot set in. I learned later, years later, that infection spread faster in warmth, in closed spaces. If someone had told me then what I know now, about bodies and about hearts, I might have done something different, or maybe not. I don't know. I just know that night taught me a remedy can draw out swelling, but it can't draw out truth if everyone agrees not to look.